Morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody here to the October 15th meeting, 2024 of the Steamship Authority. We're here in Tisbury, in the beautiful island of Martha's Vineyard. And I see the boats are still on the water. That's nice. I'd like to recognize Christine Todd, who is a public official here, and also Kate Warner, who is with us. Are there any other public officials present? If not, thank you for coming. We'll just move right into it with the approval of the authorities' minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
you have the statement next to you.
Oh, I got a statement of always. Okay, I would like to inform everybody that the Falmouth Community Television, also known as FCTV, and Sean Driscoll, the authority's communications director, are making audio and visual recording of today's meeting. If there's anybody else making an audio or video recording of today's meeting, if you are joined and are joining virtually, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you are joining by phone, by pressing *9 on your keypad. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Is there anybody joining us today's meeting?
Devin and Kenny, Falmouth Enterprise.
Good morning, everyone. Jason Grazia Day with the Nantucket Current.
Yeah.
That's all I see. There's other things, please. Couple more, sorry.
You want?
Don Shadley, are you recording?
Not recording, I'm just watching. Thank you.
Daniel,
Daniel Greenman, Martha's Vineyard Times.
you?
Kai Quigley, The Inquirer and Mirror.
It's time.
Thank you. So moving on, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 17th meeting in public session.
Move the minutes.
It's moved. Is there a second? Is there any conversation? If none, all in favor, no roll call is required.
Aye.
Aye. So voted. Okay. Secondly, is somebody from the Port Council, Rob Muner, online with us? Okay. This is a Port Council report from the October 1st meeting.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Rob Munir here. I'm the chair of the Port Council. We had a very productive meeting earlier in the month. I'll just give a brief recap. We had the usual reports from management regarding the new vessels, the website project, the new reservation system project, and the Woods Hole Terminal project. I think the main points from that was discussion about the continued delays from the Barnstable, but the general support for doing the projects right and understanding that there's lots of forces causing some of those delays. The website project, we were advised it's been postponed, and this is after several months of discussion about the use of having that project in parallel with the new reservation system. The Port Council did stress the feeling of some urgency to get the RFP out for the new reservation system so that that project can get moving. So those were the main points on the usual reports that we get from management. We discussed the revisions to the late summer 2025 schedule for Nantucket and approved those revisions. They were all sort of minor housekeeping. Discussed the excursion plan and the preferred plan programs, both of which are very significant. Nothing particularly noteworthy there other than for awareness. Then we had the usual business summary from Mark Rosum, and general consensus is we appear to be tracking on the budget that we have for 2024. I think the most discussion was on the next few topics: the draft budget for 2025, and then the proposed rate increases associated with that. Proposed increase of 11% cost of service, which is in the order of $15 million. Coupled with a projected decrease in auto and passenger revenue, suggests that there's a need for that would be a projected loss of about $5.5 million. And so management is proposing rate adjustments totaling $16.3 million. At least that was as of our meeting earlier in the month. And those rate increases would be spread over 7 categories for the Martha's Vineyard route and 8 for the Nantucket route. So the action out of that was to provide some feedback or the opportunity for members of the Port Council to speak with Mark to get some more insight on that. The Port Council took no action on the draft budget or the proposed rate increase, and I don't think any action was warranted at that time. The last topic we talked about was communications, some concern from our Martha's Vineyard representatives, Solito and Cahill, about the lack of timeliness of notification when there were delays or cancellations to ferries, and that causing some concerns among the ridership. And I think that's a high-level summary of the Port Council meeting.
Any questions for Rob? A question? No questions, Rob. Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you.
Take care. Okay. Moving on to the general manager's report. Rob.
Good morning, everyone. So first, we have an update on the status of the Aquina, Barnstable, and Monomoy conversion projects down in Mobile, Alabama. And I saw Mark Amundson is down at the shipyard, as he has been for the past forever.
Good morning, everyone from Alabama Shipyard. Give an update on the current projects. Okay, we have the first project we're going to update on is the MV Aquina. This is a picture of her at Quayside Berth. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of the stern as it is right now. It's not a pretty picture. We're getting ready to remove most of the staging and preparatory of the stern coatings. Next slide, please. And the stacks are complete, awaiting coatings. Next slide, please. The interior of the passenger area, all the sidewalls are up and erected. Next slide. And the milestones, the structural work is scheduled to be completed on the 26th of October, and followed by the incline stability test on the 30th. The mechanical habitability to be completed 12 November, and then we'll be looking at sea trials and for both SSA and Coast Guard, and upon that, scheduling to be determined a vessel departure. Let's go to the next slide. This is the MV Barnstable Quayside. Next slide. This is a photo of the completed bridge. Next slide. This is the new 5G Wi-Fi system that's been installed already on the boat. Next slide. This is just a photo of the deck view. Next slide. And this is EAL tanks for the environmental installed on the vessel. Next slide. Just like to add that on the Barnstable, the vessel is 100% complete. We are just waiting. We've had significant delays in regards to the U.S. Coast Guard. We've had 2 hurricanes which have not come into Mobile Bay, but adjacent in Florida in Helene and Milton. And what has happened is the attendance has stopped until today. We have received inspectors to finish the final design verification test procedures, testing, and the periodic test procedures. So what happens is they wear 2 hats. They have inspection hats, and they also have hurricane support for the Milton and Helene hurricanes, which have, with Milton happening last week. So barring any further, we expect to have full complement of inspectors to finish off the vessel this week. Okay, next, the Monomoy. The Monomoy is up on dry dock on the Hard. Next slide. We are prepping right here. This is probably, if everyone remembers, the same slide a year ago or so for the tonnage bulkheads for the previous 2 vessels. That's to get access into the tanks. Next slide. And here we're preparing the vessel for the mid-body cutouts and removal. Next slide. With the experience that we've had on the previous vessels, we've already completed prefabrication of the sponsons, and that's significantly complete. Next slide. This is appeared, all the deck is removed and prepped for the cut. The condition of the steel is excellent, as we had anticipated. Next slide. So as of right now, we transferred the Monomoy to the dock on the 20th of August. We have clean and gas freed is complete. Mid-body removal is scheduled for later in the month on the 29th. New bulwarks on the 8th of November to commence installation, and they are probably 80% complete at this point. And then looking forward to the stability tests, 18 May, and sea trials on the 5th of June. And we are on the correct timeline for that vessel for completion. And for the summary right now, we have the 3 projects, the Barnstable and the Quina are at 13.7 million each. We have 3.1 million in change orders for Quina and 3.5 million for Barnstable, for a total of 6.7 million in change orders. We have no change orders for the Monomoy as yet. And I would take any questions.
Any questions, comments? Pretty quiet here. But thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay, Robert.
All right, so next, want to provide a brief update on the IT review, and Tom Innes from Gibbs is here to walk us through it.
Great, thank you for your time. All right, great. So the word of the day is momentum. And maintaining momentum. The team's made great progress and has been working towards the RFP. And so now it's all about trying to get the RFP out, but then also really thinking about the tight timeline ahead and making as much progress as possible while the RFP process is going on. So in terms of updates, right now, we're on track to hopefully get the RFP out mid-November. A number of things need to come together in order for that to happen. But at the same time, we're moving ahead with the larger project. As I've mentioned, right, the RFP is one component of it. And so putting together the internal team, putting together the project charter, refining that, being really clear internally, and then we can continue to share externally, you know, what are the goals of the project? How do we measure success? And make sure that everyone's aligned. Given the tight timeline that we're trying to get this done, it's really going to be imperative to really stay on track and be clear and do things like making sure that we're managing scope as this moves ahead. So we've been working on refining the budget, refining the timeline, working on, you know, what does this look like for a 12-month implementation once the vendor's brought on board. And I wanted to share that a lot of the internal discussion that we've had is, you know, with the new reservation system, there's really an opportunity to make a shift towards an increased focus on customer service, and where has there, you know, where has some of the legacy technology meant that we've had to make some decisions that, you know, were the right decisions, but now with a new system, give us a new opportunity to explore, you know, how processes work, what's the focus of processes. So a major part of the project is all these other work streams on the next slide. They're going to run concurrent to the reservation system implementation. So looking at, you know, what does the shipper experience look like? What does the terminal experience look like? How do we think about division of tasks internally? Looking at how we're engaging with external users, the public, islanders, the shippers, to inform those processes. And at the same time, right, we've got a real challenge, which is I previously mentioned technology debt. And so we're not starting at level. And so needing to make some, you know, pretty significant progress as the project moves forward. And so, you know, all of these pieces can make this kind of a project really hard. But momentum is key to keep going, keep moving forward, keep solving problems as they come up. And so to help that happen, we're putting together then a project governance model with an executive steering group, a project management office to maintain the very many work streams that are going to be coming up as part of this project. And there's going to be, you know, numerous different vendors, new vendors coming in, vendors that the Steamship Authority already uses, and making sure that at the same time, also all the internal resources and teams are aligned, and we've got a clear critical path. So part of that is going to be having some core project teams. Right now, we're assuming focused on there's going to be a technical team and probably a few different sub-teams within the technical team, a public customer team, a shipper team, and an accounting and finance team. And so making sure that all of these are launched and moving forward. Our goal is then to formally kick off this month. And so we're working internally to identify who are going to be the leads, who are going to be the teams, what that membership looks like, but also thinking about, you know, how do we backfill some of those roles? How do we make sure that there's space operationally? Because it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to be hard. And so making sure that you know, everybody's clear on expectations, and it's also reasonable. It's a doable, possible project. We don't want to come up with a timeline that doesn't work. So some of the next steps then on the next slide, to again finalize the RFP, kicking off with the project team, engaging the sub teams, and then we had the opportunity to meet with a number of different stakeholders as part of the technology review. As part of this project, that really needs to continue. So continuing to engage externally, get the thoughts of different users that are going to be using this reservation system, and get an understanding, what their needs are, how to meet their needs as we're making the thousands of decisions that will be part of this effort. So there's already some meetings being set up with some of the shippers. We're really excited to be included in that. We look forward to sharing with you some of the other engagement that we can see coming in the future. So that's my quick update.
How big are these teams and where do you populate them from?
Well, the teams are really an opportunity to start with engagement of the internal staff. So looking at including, of course, the folks in leadership, but then also the folks out in Mashpee, some of the folks that are working at the terminals and really going to be, are dealing with the day-to-day, reservation handling, ticket handling, loading, and having to, today deal with the challenges of when somebody drives up and you hand them a paper ticket, and then you take the paper ticket back, and then you scan it, and then you let them on board. All of that needs to flow within this new system. And so making sure that we're getting, folks' thoughts and opinions.
Question, Jim?
Yeah, I got a bunch. These questions you're the consultant, so I want to ask the operating people some questions. I guess that's you, Mark and Bob. After our unhappy experience of the website redesign, which is now shelved, I've got three main areas of concern. One is the RFP. One is leadership of this project. And the third, I've got about 8 questions on the guts and the detail of what has to be done. So the first question is, who are we bringing in to make sure that this RFP is technically good? Now, I can look at it from, and I know the board can look at it from a general knowledge point of view, but this is an intellectual property exercise. This is a technology exercise. Who's going to vet this RFP so there aren't any holes in it that expose the Steamship Authority?
So part of the process so far, Jim, has been to have Alice and her team reservations be part of the process as we meet and go through what's required from a technical standpoint. I know Mark's Rosamond, his team has also been involved from the accounting standpoint of this as we actually put the RFP together. And that we look at all of the business processes, business rules, policies that we have in place, and what we want out of the new system as well.
Right, but frankly, an RFP is a legal document.
That's
and my
correct.
concern is it's very detailed, it's very technologically oriented, and it's a legal document. Who's going to review that? Who has experience in this for us?
Well, for us, that would, you want to take a moment?
Yeah. So I think in terms of the technical specifications, there's members of the IT team, Stephen and his group are involved as well. The final contract, that'll be something that there'll be a draft of a proposed contract, but we'll have to be working with whoever ends up being the selected vendor on what that actual contract will need to contain. And Terrence will be working with some outside counsel on that as well. So.
Okay, so Terrence, you'll be getting legal counsel for people from a group or an individual who has experience with RFPs and technology.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. Point person, who is the internal point person on this project?
Well, since originally it was going to be myself, but it's an operations, the reservation system is an operations. So Mark would be the lead and Allison would be the team, I forget the title you were calling it, the team leader or something. So. It's an operations program. The reservation system is an operation program for foremost, and then there's
No, I
a
agree,
subset for the
absolutely.
accounting and that.
So then my third question ties to all of the things that were just mentioned in terms of internal processes, because a good reservation system is going to change how we operate. And it's got all sorts of moving pieces that have to do with our shippers, have to do with the passengers, have to do with the vehicles. Is that underway if we're starting this in November? Are the people involved aware of what they're going to do?
Yeah. So-
Internally?
Yeah, so they've been meeting on a very regular basis to develop the guidelines, what's going to be necessary to be included in the RFP. That process should be wrapping up here in the next couple weeks. There'll be a review period of that, and then our intentions are to send it to all the board and port council members individually. And if you have any comments, you can please feel free to provide those. In terms of going forward, one of the things we will be looking at is program governance in terms of who's going to be project management, who's going to an external source to be able to manage the project going forward. And we'll be coming back at probably at next month's board meeting with a recommendation on that. So.
Okay, thank you.
First question is, when will the project charter be drafted? What's the timeline for that?
So that's something that we already have a draft, and then that's part of kicking off the project team is then to refine the charter. So it's a little bit of chicken and egg. We need the project team to be formed then to fully commit to, now this is what the project's going to look like going forward.
That would be one thing I would request that also be shared with the board other than the RFP, so that the board can make certain that the authority is living up to that charter once it's adopted. The other is just a suggestion to the chair and the board. I think this project obviously is of great significance and it will take a lot of time, effort, and expense for the authority, but it's critical to our future operations and improving our customer service. I would suggest that we don't just wait for meeting updates, and that we ourselves as a board appoint a member of this board to be a liaison to that governance committee, so that we have kind of weekly updates, so that then a member of the board knows or equally can say, bring it to the chair that this needs to be something discussed at our next meeting, or something that may need action by the board in the interim between meetings.
I have no problem with that, except for it would seem to me that the staff is already doing that. Are they not?
Well, I'm saying just in terms of governance, I think the staff is doing that, but I think the board needs to at least have a member be updated to take equal ownership for the board of this project, given its critical nature.
Okay. Would you like an appointment?
You want to do that?
I guess I'll volunteer.
Good, because we can blame it on you. Good enough. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, moving on.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
So next, we have a update on the Woodsell Terminal reconstruction project. And you're on.
Yeah, I think that's this one, Sean. So we just finished the geothermal well drilling. Right now, we're trenching for the lateral lines. That should be completed sometime early next week. Next slide. The final concrete wall placement of the utility building. They stripped off the forms just the other day. Next slide. The structural steel and the metal pan deck being installed at the utility building. They'll be pouring the cement for that pan next week. Next slide. And a view of the second floor pan decking from below. Next slide. And just a general view of the utility building site and the status of the project. And financial data, I have my glasses on and cannot read it from this far away. 32,138. Thanks. The project's progressing well. Sean Mulcahy, our project manager's, done an excellent job down there. We anticipate, being in spring of 2026. And we're on budget and on schedule. Any questions?
When do you think?
Right now, looking at April 2026.
Question in terms of when we start laying the foundation for the terminal ticket office itself, what plans have been made in terms of traffic staging when ferries are canceled? And it's a great concern, both in terms of traffic for the people in Falmouth, as well as, obviously, we're going to have even less space on the lot during construction than we will post-construction.
Well, part of the reason why we started this phase of it at this point of the year is that it's the off-season and the reduction of traffic on the site overall. But once we have the fencing up, we'll have we're gonna have to develop some alternative plans for those storm days or when we have traffic that backs up. We're gonna have to, we'll talk about this later in our communications plan, really beef up our communications to our traveling public before they arrive, so they know what's going on down there as well. But it's gonna be a challenge over the next 2 years. There's no doubt about it.
And I would say we would need to increase our communications with the town of Falmouth and its police department in terms of when those cancellations happen, just because of its impact on the traffic on our roads.
So I'll talk about this later in our communication section, but the product we're looking, we can actually include the local police, any emergency services, town officials, all in the communications that are going out.
Okay, anything further? Well,
We've issued 252 updates, email updates on on the project in total so far. All right, so next, staff wanted to present for approval, a revision to the 2025 late summer operating schedule for the Nantucket route, and Ms. Fletcher is here to present us.
In case anybody doesn't know my name. Hello, we're looking at making a slight revision to the 2025 late summer for the Nantucket route. In the beginning, we proposed the Barnstable Beach triple crude, running 3 round trips a day. And now we're looking at taking it down to, I already forgot what I wrote. To 2 single cruise, so it'll be running Monday through Friday, so. At this point, the Port Council voted unanimously to recommend the approval for the revisions, and we are looking for the board's approval as well for the minor adjustment.
Just barely due to staffing.
It's a little bit to do with staffing, and it's just trying to, but it's also the time of year when they don't have the need for truck service as much.
The
So,
weekends.
yeah, so it's kind of a play on both, so.
If I may. During that time of year, what we originally had proposed was effectively the same schedule as we were going to be running in the summertime. And so we can scale that back a little, and that's why Allison and her group looked at this and went to scale it back.
But this should then help resolve the issue of trips being canceled due to staff shortages on that route.
It definitely will not hurt.
Okay.
all right. Moving on.
But we need a vote.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Mr. Rainey, what is your opinion on this?
In favor of this.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted.
So next, staff wanted to present, for the 2025 excursion and preferred, program qualifications. And Allison will handle this as well.
Attempt to do that. All right, in an effort to provide the best reservation service for customers, we've established the following for the 2025 operating season. The excursion program that allows the applicants to purchase excursion fare reservations and have access to booking with preferred space. The approved applicants are eligible to participate in the Head Start program. The excursion program currently has approximately 14,977 participants, with about 9,235 of those on the Vineyard and the remaining 5,742 on Nantucket. To participate in this program, you need to be on the Island Town Street List, provide a copy of a valid Massachusetts driver's license with an island address, and provide a copy of a valid Massachusetts vehicle registration with an island address. We also have the preferred program, which allows applicants the ability to access booking preferred space reservations at full fare. Approved applicants are also eligible to participate in the Head Start program. The program currently has 3,019 participants. To participate, you need 2 of the following types of proof to submit: a telephone bill, water bill, cable, satellite, electric bill, or those such. The Head Start program, we are going to continue what we did last year. It'll be available to those approved in the action to participate in those programs. They'll be allowed to make up to 10 reservations one way or round trip before the general public. 5 of the 10 reservations made during Head Start may be booked in another person's name or account. Of those 5, no more than 3 reservations made during Head Start may be designated as transferable. The office hours for Mashpee will be 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily, with a closing on New Year's Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. This is presented for informational purpose only.
Questions?
Yeah. So let me just understand this. Number one, Head Start, when is Head Start going to start? When are we, what is the date for the Head Start program?
We don't have a date yet.
It's, we're still working on the schedule, but it should be, the middle or 3rd week of January.
What about with the trucks and the bulk? Don't we do that before Head Start?
We're in the process of the summer bulks right now.
You are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask about the transferable tickets that we make available through Head Start. One of the things that I've discovered, if the Vineyard has 9,000 odd people as excursion, and at the Head Start, you can buy 10 tickets each. That's 90,000 spaces. And I hear, although I have not seen it, there is a bit of a black market in these transferable tickets where people are selling them, which in my mind causes a problem for islanders who can't get space because somebody has purchased the tickets and is selling them. What's the background on having these as transferable?
Well, if you may recall, last year we changed for the Head Start program, in which the first couple days of the Head Start program were for non-transferable Head Start. That was to address the concern that these were being acquired to be used for renters and the like. So we did that. Then when we opened up for the regular reservations, even though we had increased the amount of Head Start reservations, there was only, I think it was under 200 additional reservations that were made, even though we had opened it up to that many, doubled it from 5 to 10. So it's kind of a defined group of reservations. We go through, in this case, to be eligible for it, anyone that has an even numbered profile needs to renew before the end of the year. We'll be working with Allison and the reservations group. We'll be working on having someone stationed at the terminals to be able to assist people in updating their profiles, or whether it's an additional ticket seller or whatever. We're looking at those options. But The transferable piece of it, again, they're allowed so many transferable, and it'd be a matter whether the board wanted to reduce that amount from what they're allowed or not.
So just to understand that the transferable, they can transfer it to someone who otherwise wouldn't qualify for an excursion rate,
Not for the excursion rate,
But
at
for
a
the-
full fare rate.
For the reservation itself.
but for the reservation
Yeah,
itself.
Not
So-
the rate, but just the
So
reservation.
they'll have the reservation and then someone will pay the difference?
They'll pay the full price and they'll get, so what happens is, let's say Jim makes a bunch of reservations and then he wants to transfer 3 of them. He'll transfer 3 of them to, let's say you at the full rate.
May I?
Yeah.
My understanding of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that the transferable was to allow real estate agents on the island to get reservations for people who would then rent houses and or for people who wanted to get reservations in advance for their family members who may come down. They weren't sure whose car was coming.
I don't think it was necessarily real estate agents. It was set up for the homeowners on the island to be able to make it, and if they choose to be renting out their property, that's what now whether they then engage a real estate agent to do that for them or not. But when those reservations are made, they're booked at full fare, and then they're transferred. So they're not, the person traveling isn't eligible for the excursion rate at that point.
Yeah.
It's just that they're able to get those ahead of time.
Now, the reason I raise this is my concern is we're taking a number of tickets away potentially from islanders who could use them for their own travel.
And again, that's why, starting with last year, we opened up ahead of time for non-transferable head start, so to be able to get, but that way they can get, it was a suggestion that was made up when we were over at Nantucket. One of the audience members had asked about that, so we looked at it and we were able to accommodate that. Be able to, we understand that it's important for people to be, if they have plans, weddings or whatever, they want to be able to get those ahead of time. We also have the, the preferred space that is only available 7 days or 1 day out for the during the season as well. So
How do we monitor, how do we monitor this and what's the cost of monitoring?
It's
Yes.
it's within the program itself. The program, the reservation system knows the program, like how many reservations you're allowed to have and how many can be transferred at the time, so.
If I may, you have 2 different types of transferable reservations. One, you have up until each person has allowed 3 reservations. They can transfer up until May 15th if they don't know the name of the person yet. Or I can make a reservation for my child who's coming to visit me ahead of time. So those are the 2 different types of transferable reservations we're talking about. But the system has it coded in there that only 3 of that quantity can be made transferable at that point. And then there is a certain deadline in the system. If they're not transferred, they will, the reservations will be addressed.
What was the number before we increased it? 5?
5.
I think it was 5 reservations per person before. So if a
So-
couple were both qualified in the program, they'd have 10 per household, or if someone like myself who was single, would only have 5.
I mean, when we have, restrictions on space, it kind of, raises the question, are we doing the right thing, even though it benefits for sure the islanders and those that, wish to make additional reservations here. But this is a big system.
That's the question.
So the improvement last year was before anyone could make a reservation for anyone else, island residents traveling for themselves were getting first dib, whether I wanted to get all 10 or 5, whatever that amount, they get first dibs. Then the transferables would be second for if their kids or whoever may be coming to visit. Then after that, the general public would open. So some of those transfers would be going into that general public after, as far as the time frame goes, but it would still be booked most likely prior, in the month of January, February, not in April or May.
Sure.
One more, please. So the questions I'm raising have to do, from my point of view, with making space available for islanders who need it. So to that point, Allison, where are we with the 1 day in advance tickets that are spaces that are held for islanders, 7 days in advance and 30 days in advance that we agreed to at the board?
We do the one in the 7 day, 30-day has not been enacted yet. We are still waiting on
That's. we
programming.
Authorized that last year or 2 years ago.
2 years ago, I believe. The 30-day
30
preferred.
I think it was the fall of last year.
Fall of last year.
So we're waiting on the programmer.
Programming.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
But the 1 and 7 day are,
And how many? 1 day?
it depends on the trip. It's about 120. Actually, I think we've increased it. Last I remember it was 120, but it's more than that now off island and then about the same coming back. So
And 7 days?
that's all together.
Okay,
I can get you the exact breakdown afterwards.
please,
Yep.
thank you.
So the question being, is everybody happy with this program?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's used as intended, yeah.
It's about 10% of the space, Jim, roughly.
Yeah.
On an aggregate day.
And I know we've increased it to allow for more for the Islanders, so
Okay.
especially on Nantucket, you guys got a nice jump because wasn't there before.
All right, does that take care of you?
I think that's it for me, and moving on to the treasurer's report.
So that was it.
Well done.
Sorry. Fingernails on a chalkboard. So we have the business summary for the month of August. Passengers carried for the month of August for both routes combined were down about 1.2% at just over 5,100 vehicles, with the Vineyard route being up 1,100 passengers and the Nantucket route being down almost 6,300 passengers. Year to date, we're statistically flat or up 522 passengers, with the Vineyard route being down the Nantucket route being down 3.9% and the Vineyard route being up 0.9%. Passenger vehicles carried, and these are all one-way traffic statistics. On the Vineyard route, for the month of August, we're up 1.4% or 812 vehicles. All categories were up. But year to date, we're down 2.9% or 9,800 vehicles. You see the excursion fare vehicles are up while the standard fare vehicles are down. On the Nantucket route, we're down in all categories for the month of August, down 14.8%. Year to date, they're down 8.9%. Big driver on the Nantucket route was the schedule change between having the Sanctity run in place of the Woods Hole. So year to date, with all the passenger vehicles, we're down just over 15,000 passenger vehicles, so 3.8%. These are the freight vehicles over 20 feet in length. On the Vineyard route for the month of August, we're down 5.6%. Year to date on the Vineyard route, we are up 1.5%. Nantucket was up 2.1% for the month or 0.5% overall for the year. Combining the routes year to date, we're up 1.1%. Cars parked for the month of August, the Vineyard route was down and the parking lots in Falmouth were down 6.9%. Nantucket was down 18.1%, and total cars parked compared to the year before for the month of August were down just over 2,500 vehicles or 8.8%. Year to date, though, we are up in the parking lots 0.4% of 420 vehicles, with the Vineyard route being up and the Nantucket route being down. Absolutely.
August, to have the cars off and parking that much is interesting.
Yeah, we got to look at the calendars and then when the weather wasn't on a weekend or weekday, how it hit. And then you had an event last year that wasn't held this year as well. That's not going to make up the whole difference.
Oh, Beach Road Festival.
So that, you brought it up.
I did.
Okay, trip summary report for the month of August. On the Vineyard route, we had 21 trips canceled for mechanical, none for weather, 8 for traffic, 20 for crewing, and 132 because of the pre-approved schedule change. On the Nantucket route, we had 12 trips canceled for mechanical, 0 for weather, 4 for traffic, 62 for the schedule, and 2 for crewing. Year to date, we have 143 trips canceled for mechanical, 322 for weather, 150 for traffic, 550 for schedule, and 83 for crewing. And below, you can see our year-to-date percentages by category, and in the green, you can see how it compares to the year before. Side note, Mr. Salito asked me to see how the trip diversions were for the month of September. This year in 2024, we had 172 trip diversions from Oak Bluffs to Vineyard Haven. Last year, we had 155 for the month of September. But for the first 9 months of the year, we had 232 trip diversions this year, while last year we had 243. So they're both pretty close to each other. So hopefully that addresses your concerns on the comparisons. You're welcome. Financial snapshot for the month of August. We had operating revenues of 19.9 million, which is about $524,000 below budget. We had other income of 1.2 million. Total revenue of brings it to almost $21.2 million. We have operating expenses of 11,660,000, which is above budget by 211,000. Putting this all together, we had a net operating income of 9,351,000, which was below budget by just under $100,000. Year to date, though, we have a net operating income of 12,689,000, which is $1.6 million ahead of budget. Operating revenues, as we saw with the vehicles, so comparing the revenue. So this budget, we're looking at comparing the traffic versus 2022 for August. So that's where you can see, even though the auto quantities were up, we're down in that amount, plus the Nantucket route was down, which is generally a higher priced vehicle compared to the Vineyard price. It's about 2.5 times the price. You can see the other categories, the passenger revenue, a lot of the high speed in the Nantucket route being down as well. So for the month, we're down 524,000 in operating revenue. Year to date, we're down 1.7% or $1.6 million. Big driver there, as you can see, the $2.2 million in operating revenue, which we'll be addressing in the next topic during the budget. Operating expenses for the month were up $211,000, and so the big item there on that is the maintenance expense up 35.9% for the month of 360,000. A lot of that was timing. As you can see, the overall maintenance expense is still trending lower by 4.5%. Fuel year to date, we are down 1.2 million or 15.9%. We budgeted 337, including hedges, and we're coming in at $3.07 per gallon. So since we're in October, excuse me, here's the passengers for September. Both routes combined for the month of September are up 2.1% or 6,000 passengers. Year to date, we're up 0.3 or 6,600 passengers. And there will be a slight revision to this that I found out late last week, but not material. Vehicles carried, these are cars and trucks combined. Both routes were up combined 1.4% or 900 vehicles, with the Vineyard route being up and the Nantucket route being down for the month. Year to date, we're off 2.5% or just over 13,000 vehicles. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has regarding the business summary.
Peter.
Just a question about future projections in terms of passengers and vehicles. It seems that obviously our standard fares are going down. Our parking is about remaining the same. Is this a trend that you see moving forward? I know that we'll later talk about the budget and perhaps fare increases, but looking out 2, 3, 4 years from now, are we at the end of having growth in those revenue streams being able to offset excursion fares?
So
and the cost of the cost of service of excursion fares, because we greatly subsidize that cost of service with these other revenue categories, but it doesn't seem that they're growing, but our operating expenses are.
Yep. So we had growth at COVID and right after COVID, when you had a lot of work from home, a lot of people were coming to the island and not a lot of people were leaving the island. So the standard fare quantity was up. And in the budget presentation, I have some percentages showing how it's stabilized, and actually the percentage of overall passenger vehicle traveling, the excursion rate is higher now than it was pre-COVID. Okay, I believe since 2019, we're up 3.8%, the amount of total people who have registered for the excursion fairs on both islands. I think it went from 14.4 thousand to 14.9 thousand, about 500 people. So I see a lot of flatline growth this year. The standard fare on the Nantucket route is down. A lot of it has to do with the schedule change because the vehicles that were already on the boats were the freight, and then the cars couldn't fill in behind the scenes. So that's kind of skewing the Nantucket numbers this year. With the addition of the new boats and the where we wouldn't be replacing a bigger boat with a smaller boat, it'll be like size. I'd expect those numbers next year to come back to similar to where they were in 2023. So I hope that, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
helpful.
Anything else, Mark? Moving
Okay.
on.
We got the 2025 preliminary proposed operating budget. With me is Courtney Oliveira, the Assistant Treasurer. I'd like to, before we start, thank her and the rest of the accounting team for putting this together. It's a very it takes a lot of work to put this together. Let me say it like that. And sometimes the effort that's put in might not yield the results we want, but we put a lot of time and effort into creating this.
Okay, good morning. Okay. The 2025 proposed operating budget. There's some assumptions that we start with. Baseline for revenues is actual traffic statistics, which will be August 2023 through July 2024, which is the most recent 12 months. Fuel costs decreasing by 35,000, relatively flat next year. Went from $303.15 per gallon in the 2025 budget versus $3.35 per gallon in the 2024 budget. And we are fully hedged for 2025. Operating budget is based on the 2024 approved operating schedule. Vessel crewing, increased training, recruitment, and retention. The budget includes vessel crewing that keeps able-bodied seamen in the off-season as we did in 2024. Keeping the extra ABs creates a feeder system for potential new licensed deck officers. We also have the MV Barnstable and MV Aquina in the 2025 budget scheduled to operate. Because of these new vessels, we have increased insurance costs, increased fuel usage, and also a full year depreciation expense included in the budget. The proposed operating budget has operating revenues of 139.1 million, operating expenses of 150.7 million. This number is a decrease of almost 2 million since the presentation at the Port Council. 1.7 million in expenses have been reduced due to network and software costs associated with the new reservation system that have been identified as capital. And 344,000 has been accelerated into 2024 for the governor's dry dock, which is part of today's agenda. We also have other income for 2025, 12 million. Other expenses, almost 3.8 million, for a net operating loss of 3.4 million. Significant operating expense changes between the 2024 budget and the 2025 budget are training up 400,000, payroll taxes up 642,000, vessel maintenance up 871,000, pension and relief and insurance each up over 1.1 million in 2025. IT expense up 1.3 million. IT expense is expected to be just over 4 million. Increases can be attributed to more cloud-based service and a security information and event management program. The SIEM program will proactively find network problems and notify departments. We also have some additional details about the IT budget on a following slide. Payroll is also an operating expense increase of 7.7 million. The largest variance, the increase includes board-approved wage increases, settled contract agreements, and estimates based on union negotiations. This is the IT hardware budget breakout and the IT software budget breakout by category. As you can see, the hardware budget is 69% is going to infrastructure, 11% for the reservation system, 6% credit card processing, and 5% each for cybersecurity and disaster recovery. IT software budget, 27% for website expenses, 15% for financial applications, and 15% for infrastructure. This is just operating. So there isn't any capital included in that.
So the capital would be in the depreciation? If we already spent the capital and we showing depreciation, or if there was a under GASB 8780 software lease that's longer than a year and over 25,000, we'd be amortizing it. Okay.
Okay, the 2025 maintenance expenses, vessel dry docking. There'll be 4 vessels that are dry docked in 2025, almost 4.7 million. Also terminal dolphin and dock repairs, total budget is just over 3 million. The biggest projects being slip work in Vineyard Haven, roof replacement at the Vineyard Haven terminal, and repairs to the Oak Bluffs transfer bridge. We also have additional details on a following slide about the maintenance breakout. There it is. Vessel maintenance, 17.3 million. Non-dry dock vessel repairs, 32% of the budget, 27% dry docking for the 4 vessels that I spoke about, 28% for maintenance and vessel crewing associated with repairs. On the land side maintenance, we have almost $5.8 million. 34% is for repairs to buildings and structures, 20% for miscellaneous maintenance. That includes terminal, gas and electric, gasoline for buses, uniforms, rubbish removal. And 18% for repairs to dolphins and docks. The 2025 training and crewing expenses, almost 1.5 million. Budgeted training expenses include standard STCW training for vessel employees, vessel familiarization training, new vessel familiarization training, new pilot and captain training, additional able-bodied seamen, which is the feeder system that I spoke about, cybersecurity and additional IT training, and the Training and Development Expo that is held twice a year. This slide is showing the payroll summary. The 2024 budgeted payroll distribution versus the 2025 budgeted payroll increases distribution. As you can see, for example, in 2024, 41.9% of the total payroll that was budgeted was to vessel crew payroll. But in 2025, 57.9% of the wage increases are allocated to the vessel employees. Mark is going to talk now more about the 2025 operating revenues.
So, thank you, Courtney. So passenger revenue, we're expecting a decrease of about 2.4% or 845,000 passengers, looking at the traffic statistics from August 2023 through July 2024. That's roughly a decrease of about 17,000 passengers. The other downside is the automobile revenue of decrease of about 2.5 million or 3.6%. We're expecting a decrease of about 23,000 cars compared to the previous budget, and most of those cars are the standard fare cars. So as I was mentioned to Mr. Jeffrey about the trends on the how we can see the breakdown between excursion fare and standard fare. So the standard fare percentage of all the passenger vehicles traveling is down below in blue, and the excursion fare vehicles up above in red or pink. So we could see pre-COVID in 2019, it was about a 35-65 split. It went up during COVID to as high as 60, almost 69% to 31. And now we're at 61.3 to 38.7. So that's where we can see the trend there. And the Nantucket run on the next slide has a similar, not the percentages, but the trend were the same. So pre-COVID, we're at a 30-70 split roughly. We went up to as high as 73-27, and then we're back now at 33.8 to 66.2. This shows the how our finances generate through the year. So each bar graph for each month shows whether our net income or net loss for the month, and the blue line is our aggregate year-to-date revenue for the year, income. So we could see we lose money the first 4 months of the year, where we come into just around $20 million loss. We make money May through September, where before any rate adjustments were coming in right around $6 million. Then at the end of the year, we'd have about a $3.4 million net operating loss. So, you know, the combination of the net operating losses, we see the decrease in a couple of key travel categories and revenue side, and then we have the increased operating expenses. So as far as we can either go into the rate adjustments or proposed rate adjustments, or talk about the budget prior, or do it all at once, whatever the board prefers.
What's your preference? Is it long?
Man,
Yes.
yeah, the one thing, every time I look at this last graph that you had up, where the Steamship Authority loses tremendously in January, February, March, April, and then again in October, November, December. Makes me want to deal with all the traffic we get in the summer, because it's the only thing that keeps this place profitable.
And the cash flow is a little different than, because we have the opening, as we mentioned just recently, the Head Start reservations, where we have that cash flow coming in, which is different than the income, because that's a liability at that time when we book it.
Okay, I guess you can move on.
Okay. Okay, so the proposed rate adjustments, and so we've made some adjustments to this since the last Port Council meeting. As Courtney mentioned, we're able to adjust the operating budget by about $2 million. And so accordingly, off of that $2 million, the rate adjustments on the Vineyard were lowered by about 1.4 million, and the Nantucket run about 600,000. So we're looking at some of these vessel expenses and terminal expenses that are operating. We're forecasting them 18 months out in advance, you know, getting estimates on these costs. We're seeing the vessel and landside maintenance costs increasing by about 1.2 million. Courtney mentioned the wages, but we also have that corresponding pension and healthcare costs that are going with that as well. We have training costs increasing by 403,000. We have insurance costs going up almost 1.2 million. Even though our renewal rate was around 4%, the value of the new vessels costs more to insure. Plus, we have some one-time builder's risk insurance operating that we shouldn't see in the following year. Then we also have IT costs increasing by 1.3 million. As we move to a more of a model of software as a service, we're going to see the increased cost there, and then probably some offset in some of the depreciation, but that cost, as we go to more third parties, will be increasing. Here we can see the investments we've been making in the maintenance of the vessels and the terminal staff. So you can see back in 2021, we were under $20 million, and now we're looking at over $24 million, you know, maintaining our fleet. Here we can see our effort in increasing our IT expenses. And then we look at these as investments, ways to improve our operations so it benefits the general public traveling. We have not reaped all these rewards, but we're investing in it to make our services better. Here we can see the training. So when you look back at 2021, where the training budget was under $500,000 compared to now, we're at about $1.2 million. We're really making a concerted effort to make sure that we get more ABs to pilots, pilots to captains, vessel familiarization, making sure we do our STCW, landside training, making a real investment in our employees. And again, here's what Courtney mentioned, that, you know, this is of the $7.8 million in wage increases. This is how it's being distributed, where 57.9 would be going to vessels. You're looking at 16.1 for terminals, 9.4 for the engineering and maintenance, and so on down the line. So the bottom line, so we're looking at targeting a net operating income of $10.7 million, which is about 7% of overall on our top line. So we need additional revenue we have a net operating loss before rate increases of 3.4 million. So which would mean about $14 million in adjustments, where 8.7 million would come from the Vineyard route and 5.4 would come from the Nantucket route. Here shows the distribution of the amount of space each type of vehicle category uses compared to the percentage of cost they cover. So for example, on the Vineyard route, looking at the excursion vehicles, they use 28.8% of all the vessel deck space, while they bring in about 9.6% of the revenue, where compared to, say, on the Nantucket run, the standard fare vehicles use 27.4% of the space, but bring in 42.4% of the overall revenue. Here's the cost of service for the last 5 years, showing what percentage of the cost that each type of vehicles carry per year. So you can see on the Vineyard route, a freight truck covers 105.9% of its cost in 2023, compared to the excursion fare vehicles cover 32% of the cost. On the Nantucket route, you're looking at 36% on an excursion fare and 85% on a freight vehicle. So we've adjusted this since the last Port Council meeting, where the passenger fares were recommending rate adjustments of $1.8 million. No changes to the excursion fare on either island. Standard fare vehicles by 6.1 million, freight vehicles by 3.3 million, daily parking and parking permits by 1.9 million, and miscellaneous fees, which are mostly on the Nantucket run, by about 900,000. So looking at details, so for the standard fare vehicles on the Vineyard route, looking at generating about 4.4 million in revenue, where the big driver there is you're looking at from 9/15 to 10/31, increasing the weekend rate by $21. That's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday rate. Then also balancing out some of the September 15th through end of October rate to match what it is in May through September, excuse me. The auto ride coupon books would go up $100. Freight would be looking at a 10% increase. Passenger fare is 50 cents per trip for a one-way adult, and the corresponding rates would go accordingly. Daily fee parking in the summer would go to $25. That's the big driver there. And some of the rates in the parking lot have been adjusted since, I believe, 2014. That would be about 1.7 million. And then the parking permits would go up $100 at Palmer and $200 at Woods Hole. On the Nantucket rate, the standard fares would be priced similarly as the Vineyard run, where the big driver is in the summer rates on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, going up by $30, and then matching the 9/15 to 10/31 rates to be the same as May 14th through the summer, through June, excuse me. Auto ride books would go up $144. Freight vehicles would go up 10%. Again, no adjustment to the excursion fares. The high-speed passengers would go up $4 for a one-way adult and $3 for a same-day round trip. The other pricing for children, seniors, and 10 rides would go up correspondingly. No adjustment on the conventional ferry on the Nantucket route. We want to make sure, we're not adjusting the passengers on the Nantucket route, 50 cents on the passengers on the Vineyard route, as well as keeping the excursion fares, not adjusting those at all. We're really trying to stay mission driven on these rate adjustments. So parking permit, looking at $200 for Lewis, for the combo permit, $100 for Yarmouth Road. Driver services, $10 per commercial vehicle, as well as in the summer only, 5/15 to 9/14, that would be $12.50 per vehicle. And then the barge is $1 a ton. And the passenger vehicles, generally the excursion travel on the Nantucket run, don't travel as much in the summer as they do in the off season. So this gives a distribution of where the rate adjustments are coming for the standard fare vehicles. And as you can see, the Friday, Saturday, Sundays accounting for 40% of the additional revenue. And then the other summer is about 21% there in green and the light blue in the bottom. The overall rate adjustments, this is by category. So on the far right is, in the blue is standard fare vehicles would be going up 43%. They would account for 43% of the additional revenue, excuse me. The parking lot, 14%, freight, 24%. We have 6% on the miscellaneous, and then we have 13% on the passengers. Then using the same graph with the proposed rate adjustments, where we still have the same expenses per month, but it changes the graph where in the first quarter of the year, we don't lose as much. We make more during the summer, and then at the end of the year, we come about $10.7 million in net income, which is roughly the same amount as our bond principal payment. So with that, Courtney and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Peter,
I guess, first, I'd like to thank you, Mark, for a well thought out analysis and its presentation. Despite how unpopular the information is, to tell us that things cost more and our expenses go up. I mean, you did a great analysis. It's well thought out. I think putting this in context as the board considers this moving forward, we face the difficulty of a 64-year-old enabling act with a fare box only operation that didn't contemplate the capital expenses an authority would have from 1960 now into 2024 with coastal resiliency, the costs of new vessels, as well as trying to move perhaps to more carbon neutral vessels. This statute is not perfect, and I am not one to defend the way we're funded. And I know people like to point to the Washington State ferry system as a model. And I would say, yes, let's point to it as a model for funding as well. If we're going to have, you can have that if you have the legislature at least help with your capital funding. So with that being said, though, I do think, and I understand the reason behind not increasing excursion fares again, but I do think looking forward, we need to look at balancing the cost of service amongst the various categories, because in many ways, that 50% passenger increase is not going to just impact tourists coming to the island, but the workforce that can't afford to live on the island. We've basically now imposed a commuter tax, and I can say too, they're not necessarily on the Cape because there's many people coming into Falmouth every day across the bridges to work, because it's not that much more affordable, if at all, on the Cape side. So I just think as we move forward, we need to look at balancing our cost of service, and to our traveling public, if they can think of ways to get the legislature to fund our capital expenses so that we're not offsetting all the debt that we have to take on in bonds to make these capital expenses. I think that's a strategy moving forward, but outside the authority of this board.
If I may, to your point on the passengers, when we had the decrease in expenses and revisited where to make adjustments on potential rate adjustments, we did originally propose $1 on the passengers, and we knocked it down to 50 cents, where a commuter book would be, instead of $21 per month, would go to $10.50 rate. And then originally there were excursion rate adjustments, and we knocked that down. And the one thing I would look at, if I may, is that on the commercial fares is like, look at some of the categories like the food pantries, things that they're the greater good, to maybe exempt them from the rate adjustment on the freight.
further questions?
Yeah.
Yes,
I-
go ahead, Jim.
I appreciate you're going back and looking at the numbers and coming up with some savings from the preliminary that we saw. And I appreciate the fact that the excursion rates aren't going up for Islanders, and I don't think they've gone up since January of 21.
Correct.
So I think Peter's comments are all appropriate and something that needs to be looked at, probably not by this board. Having said that, for me, the focus is transportation for the Islanders. For me, the focus is essential, goods and services with our limited capacity, which is finite. So, but I appreciate what you're doing. I do regret that we have to have these increases, but in looking at the numbers, I see no way around them.
And we're gonna have 3 open houses coming up. We have one next Tuesday here on the island at the senior center from 5 to 7, and we'll be more in depth we can go line by line in the budget. And in more of a forum versus me talk, I want to listen and get people's advice and answer questions. We have one on Nantucket next Monday from 3:45 to 5:45 at the Public Safety Building. And then we're going to have one in Falmouth on Thursday from 5 to 7 at the Administration Building as well.
Thank you.
Tisbury, I'm sorry.
Okay, if there's nothing more. I think, Peter, I think you made some very salient points. At some time, the steamship is gonna have to face the fact that the expense of doing business and things like that is gonna go up. And, you know, along with that, traffic and other pains will obviously go up too. So for long range, we're doing a strategic plan now, but I don't think I covered, you know, 10 years out. And I think we need to, you know, start focusing on that. Maybe new routes. We know we're gonna need new boats. You know, the money just flows. So I thought your point was well taken. So any other questions? If not, I'd like to move on. Thank you. Huh?
Do we want a motion on this?
No.
No?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we here? Treasurer. Right. Okay, procurement.
All right, so first item I have for the board is the request that the members authorize the general manager to award contract number 15-2024, which is dry dock and overhaul services for the MV Governor, to the lowest eligible and responsible bidder, which was same shipyard and repair company of New London, Connecticut, for a total contract price of $285,925. The governor, as Mark pointed out earlier, was originally scheduled to be dry docked in 2025. We're now looking at moving the availability of that dry dock to November 1st to December 31st of 2024 to undergo Coast Guard hull exam, rudders, propellers, shaft maintenance, and door maintenance. The original 2025 budget estimate for this was $344,245. There's been some minor changes that we had, but it ends up being less than what that original budget number was. Drawing in specifications was sent to 13 shipyards. We received not 2, but 3 responsive bids. And that's included in your packet. So we're seeking authorization to award contract 15-2024 dry dock and overhaul repair services for the MV Governor to the lowest eligible and responsible bidder, same shipyard and repair company of New London, Connecticut, for a total contract price of $285,925.
Should I have a motion? Is there discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
A vote? There's no vote. Thank you. So passed.
Okay, thank you. Next, request vote of the board to authorize the general manager to execute purchase order 36404 for parts and installation services to purchase a Brucon DP0 propulsion controls from Ships Machineries International, Inc. of Miami, Florida, for $187,220 for the MV Monomoy. The Monomoy, as you know, is in the Alabama shipyard undergoing conversion. The Brunval joystick control system was identified as an owner-furnished materials for $159,000 when it was presented back in June at the June board meeting. Upon further engineering, resulted in additional station requirements for the stern console for $28,220. So resulting in a grand total of $187,220. Ships Machinery International is a sole source of Brunval equipment for sales and service in the United States. And it's the existing propulsion control for the vessel. So we're seeking to authorize the general manager to execute PO 36404 for parts and installation services to purchase the Brunval DP0 propulsion controls from Ships Machinery International, Miami, Florida, for $187,220 for the MV Monomoy.
Okay, have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So voted.
All right, third item I have is to authorize the general manager to execute PO 36405 for parts and conversion services of the Brunval thrusters from Ships Machineries International, Miami, Florida, totaling $570,453.30 for the MV Monomoy. The ship has 2 forward thrusters and 1 stern thruster. The work scope involves removal of the thrusters to SMI's shop in Miami. The thrusters will be overhauled, including converting the thrusters to EPA requirements for acceptable environmental approved lubricants, EALs. The units will then be returned and installed, including new head tanks. The thrusters was identified as owner furnished materials for $448,000 in the June 2024 board meeting for the Monomoy. But upon review of what the parts ended up being for the Equinor and Barnstable, there's some additional cost that we've identified. And again, Ships Machinery International is a sole source for Brunval equipment. So we're seeking authorization to execute PO 36405 for parts and conversion services of the Brunval thrusters from Ships Machinery International, Miami, Florida, for the MV Monomoy for $570,453.30.
Okay, Ken, may I have a motion, please?
To approve?
Motions to
Second.
approve. There's a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So approved.
All right, next, seeking a vote of the board to authorize the general manager to execute an equipment sale purchase agreement in exchange for surplus equipment removed from the Equinor and Barnstable with Hornbeck Offshore Operators LLC. The Equinor and Barnstable had surplus equipment removed during the conversion at Alabama Shipyard, included some variable frequency drives, bulk air compressors, liquid mud pumps, hydro cranes, and radar scan radar systems. To offset the storage fee cost for the Monomoy while it was docked at the Hornbeck Offshore Facility in Houma, Louisiana during the 2023-2024 period, a credit of $38,450 would be applied in return for the above items, the above mentioned items. The equipment is used, the condition is unknown, and there's no need for steamship operations of those vessels. So we're seeking authorization to execute the equipment sale purchase agreement to exchange surplus equipment removed from the Equinor and Barnstable with Hornbeck Offshore Operators LLC, totaling $38,450 to be used as an offset to storage charges for the MV Monomoy.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve?
Motions approved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So voted.
All right. Next, seeking a vote to authorize the general manager to execute a support and implementation agreement with IMOC covering the period of October 2024 through February 2025. With the recent postponement of the Stellar Elements website project, the Steamship Authority is relying upon the current website, which is done by IMOC, until a replacement solution for the reservation system is selected. With the general internet opening for 2025 season fast approaching in January, just a few short months away, we're looking at having IMOC look at the performance and of the current system, verify and if necessary to tune and adequately support the system and the number of users that we have during opening. So we're looking to execute a support and implementation agreement with IMOC to cover the period October 2024 through February 2025 at a total cost of $133,250 with IMAC.
Okay, a motion to approve, please.
I have one question.
Second, please.
No, second.
Okay, you can ask your question.
Thank you. This goes through 2025. What are we gonna do after 2025? Does it still have the same system in place?
Yeah, so we'll be going back and working with IMAC, and once we have the time frame too for the new reservation system, we'll be trying to coordinate all that together.
Okay, so anticipate further. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All in favor?
Did we have a,
Oh, no, I don't. Do we have?
I don't think did we have a motion?
Oh, yeah, we did first.
We had a motion, then we had a second.
Okay.
I missed who moved it.
I thought we did.
I'm paying attention.
I'll claim making the motion.
And I claim seconding that motion.
Thank you, just for the record.
All right, moving on.
All right, next item we have, request for authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with InterSystems LLC for front-end, back-end, and SQL developer resources. The application developer who wrote most of the authority's internally developed applications recently retired. A second application developer has indicated he'll be retiring as well this spring. So the authority has conducted several interviews for application developers, but have not been able to find a viable candidate at this point. So as an interim measure, with nearly all the programs that extend the capabilities of the current reservation system being written internally, it's imperative that we have at least a qualified application developer hired and contracted to support and enhance the programs that are relied upon by internal staff, as well as the traveling public. So we're looking to have execute a professional services agreement with InterSystems LLC in the amount of $153,400, and they'll be able to provide us with the personnel necessary to support these services.
Okay. May I have a motion, please? No?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Made and second. Now we have a question.
If I understand correctly, this is to keep the people who have created the current problematic reservation system being paid while we develop over the next 2 years, develop and implement our new reservation system. Is that correct?
No, that's not.
Okay, then help me understand what this is.
So the reservation system that we currently have is a company that's based in Wisconsin. Internally, we've had at least two programmers now for the past 25, 30 years, in which at this point, one's retired and one is retiring. And they've written programs to support internal staff as well as some, in terms of, for instance, the messaging services that go out for alerts and things like that. And so we're looking with those two individuals retiring, we were trying to hire external candidates to bring in for those positions. But we haven't been able to locate a candidate capable of doing it. So we're looking for.
So the scope of work is not the existing reservation
It's
system?
not the existing, it's
Thank
other
you.
programs.
I'm confused. Thank you. Withdraw my question.
So what, those two retiring, or the retired and now retiring, do they have any contract or any with the authority, or they're retired and they're out the door and they're no longer involved?
Yeah, so, yeah, they don't have a contract. The one that's retired has been providing some limited services since he's retired.
But not to the level of.
Not to the level that we need.
Okay. So this is an independent, just to put, I think with Jim, this is a separate entity not involved with those two retired employees.
Correct.
Okay. Could I have a motion?
We already have we do have the motion. So.
Good. We do, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So voted. Moving on.
All right. Next, we have, we're seeking authorization to execute an addendum to technology review with Gibbs LLC of Boston, Mass. For $270,000. As you know, Gibbs has been working closely with internal management and the information staff to develop leadership roles and functional needs and to enhance the IT governance model. Right now, they're currently drafting, along with staff, the request for proposals for a new reservation system. The proposed what the proposal is in front of you is to provide additional support during that time period while the issuance of the RFP is made up to the award of the RFP.
Second.
Moved to second, any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
So voted.
All righty. So next, seeking authorization to award contract number 07-2024, purchase and sale of the MV Katama to the highest eligible and responsible bidder, Maurice Dennis of Miami, Florida, for a total contract price of $166,000. So as you know, with the Barnstable and the Quinta nearing completion, earlier this year, we requested authorization to market the Catamaran Gayhead as available for sale. Following a completion of a condition and valuation survey that was performed by Marine Safety Consultants of Fairhaven, the two vessels were advertised for sale. The Marine Safety Consultants survey was included in along with that. We advertised in local papers as well as various marine publications, including Boats and Harbors, Workboat, and Foghorn. Drawings and specifications were sent to 9 interested parties. We had 2 responsive bids as of the opening date. And so we're seeking authorization to award contract 07-2024, purchase and sale of the MV Katama to the highest eligible responsible bidder, Maurice Dennis of Miami, Florida, for a total contract price of $166,000, and to authorize the general manager to take all necessary actions to facilitate the sale.
Okay, may I have a motion, please? Moved and second. Discussion one. How long will we have control of the container until the new vessel arrives? Or?
Okay, so for the Katama, the bidder was requesting to take delivery on December 15th, I believe, was 15th or 17th.
And we can let the vessel go at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
At this point, we don't anticipate needing the Katama between now and then.
Okay. I think we can consider ourselves lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter.
Do we, in the contract, are we going to have, what happens if they're unable to take the vessel on the 15th? How much we've been we paid storage costs to Hornbeck. I don't want to be, I want to be Hornbecky. So back.
We will have clauses in there that will hopefully offset any potential exposure beyond the 17th.
There was a $25,000 deposit that they had to put in so they'd forfeit that if they don't take delivery.
I just want to get in a position where we are rid of these vessels before we have to get to a dry dock and a COI again.
Okay, no more discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So voted. Thank you.
All right. So one last one. Seeking authorization to award contract number 08-2024, purchase and sale of the MV Gayhead to the highest eligible and responsible bidder, Robert B. R. Equipment Leasing LLC of Harwich, Mass., for a total contract price of $200,000. Same situation as with the container. In this case, we had we still had 9 interested parties and 2 responsive bids. So we're seeking authorization to award contract 08-2024, purchase and sale of the MV Gayhead to the highest eligible responsible bidder, Robert B. R. Equipment Leasing LLC of Harwich, Mass, for a total contract price of $200,000, and to authorize the general manager to take all necessary actions to facilitate the sale.
Okay, may I have a motion, please? It's moved. Second, discussion?
How are they gonna fit the Gayhead into Harwich?
Not very easily.
Okay.
I will say that, again, it's lucky. But anyways, no more discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So voted. Thank you, Bob.
We're gonna get some good votes.
Absolutely. Okay. Are there any old or new business the members wish to devise? I'd just like to say one thing. I guess we finally zeroed in on our workshop?
So, yes, so we have the workshop is scheduled for Thursday at 4 p.m. at our Hyannis terminal,
Thursday, and what day?
between 4 and 7,
That's, yeah,
the 17th, 2 days from now.
okay. Nothing more. Communication strategy.
Mr. Higgins.
So right now, we're reviewing the 2018 staff summary that set the foundation for the OpsCom Center. With new senior manager in 2018 and COVID, that vision of the OCC has not been realized. And more importantly, many of the aspects of that staff summary do not currently reflect operations. The OCC that's currently constituted has essential functions centered on vessel crewing and payroll. Some of the duties will change over the next few months, but essential communication should be a boots on the ground approach with our terminal staff. Those folks will be given new and updated tools in the training so that we can communicate with the traveling public in a clear, concise, and timely manner. So part of our plan for that is we are implementing a system called ReadyOps for internal communication. We actually have training scheduled for that for tomorrow for the staff. Implementation and verification of that will take place from 10/17 to 10/31. And we expect to have that system live on Tuesday, 11/5. We will also continue to develop our internal tools, and they will be updated and tested so that the agents and the sellers have more intuitive UX selections on cancellations when they're using these tools in the field. We will also be reviewing the TFOM and updating communications policies. Over the next few months, we'll be developing SOPs and reviewing existing SOPs, policies, as we look into future solutions. So right now, for short term, we are looking at how we operate. And I think it's important that with the terminals, you know, that's boots on the ground, they're there to see what's going on. And they have to have the correct tools and the training to be able to actually complete, you know, what I would say is a successful mission for the traveling public here, to provide service and communicate with them so that they know what's happening on a timely basis.
Okay. Jim?
Can I have what you just said in written format
Sure.
so I can go over it and get back to you on that?
I'll send that right out to you.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon, Jim.
3 to the board.
Yeah, I'll make sure I sent to both the Port Council and the board this
Right.
afternoon, sir.
I mean, I'm glad this is obviously a step in the right direction and much needed. I would like to see there as well, just kind of a written decision tree about when and how and who makes these decisions for not only cancellations, but when the communication goes out, how often it goes out. I know that'll be addressed in part through standard operating procedures, but a real kind of decision tree and who is ultimately responsible for making the decision, as well as then who's responsible for communicating it. I'd also want to see a delineation, when is it the responsibility of operations to do the communication versus the responsibility of the communications department? I think we need to make clear who's not only making this decision, but who's pushing out the information, who's responsible for the accuracy of the information, and on what platforms it's going out. And then what budget may you need moving forward? And are there, if we're changing some of the responsibilities of operations in terms of communication that may have fallen under the communications department, then I think we should maybe move that budget over. I didn't bring it up, but there, we have over $1.3 million set aside for advertising, and it's clear to me what we don't need to advertise as much as we need to communicate with our traveling public. So to me, at least, I see that as a source of improving our communications. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, one last, with our general manager stepping back, we're gonna have to form a committee for a search committee to find a suitable replacement. The Steamship Authority, well, let's put it this way: the chairman of the authority has limited control over appointments and things like that, but it's silent within the bylaws. There's no prohibition for the chairman to make appointments. And I'm going to take that prerogative, unless somebody wants to challenge the chair, to make the following appointments. First of all, I want to appoint our vice chair, Jim Milken, to the committee. And basically, he will be the chair by the time we get a new replacement. I'm going to appoint myself as the current chair, with 23 years of industrial knowledge between the Port Council and the board. And by invitation, I'm going to, I've asked already if the vice chairman of the Port Council, Nat Lowell, would take this on, and also the current chair of the Port Council, Rob Munier. And by doing this, we have representation on the island and the mainland. We have no problems with the overstaffing. I'm trying to think of the word, but I'm sorry for this little hiatus here. I've written it out, but I just shouldn't try to record. But anyways, with the open meeting laws, we cannot populate the boards with a quorum. So this would have no quorum across the board. It would also have, and there's nothing to do with the fact of the chairmanship that we now enjoy on the Port Council or our board. It only has to do with the institutional knowledge of those members who have served on the Steamship Authority for this period of time. So unless I'm challenged by my fellow board members here, that I'd like to make those appointments, and I'd consider a ratification by the board. So could I get a motion to ratify the appointments?
Motion to approve.
It's moved, seconded. All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Okay. Now, this will not be done in a vacuum. It's gonna take quite a while, to, go over the processes and things, and this was, when Bob was appointed, back then, there was a motion made by myself, to, invite the port council also. And I'll use the words invite because, we don't have any power over the port council. So it is an invitation, and I've spoken to both parties and they're delighted to do so. So that's all I have at this point here. So I think,
The only other thing I have, Mr. Chair,
yes,
is I just want to point out that Monday, November 11th is Veterans Day, and we'll be offering free passage for veterans on board as walk-on passengers.
I think we're at public comment. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak? I would hope that, that it doesn't be lengthy, but concise, and please go ahead. Yes.
Christine Todd, Chair of the Youth Commission. I have a few questions that I hope you can at least give me some brief answers for, and then maybe one comment. I was wondering if you could please confirm the purpose of the upcoming forum next
Christine,
week.
can I have you come up to the microphone so people can hear you with the audience?
Oh, I can speak loudly, but absolutely.
Not challenging that.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me speak. So I was wondering if you could please confirm the purpose of the upcoming forum in Tisbury and the other port towns.
Mark?
So we've done the open houses pre-COVID. We used to have them in person. We used to do it on the Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket. And then after COVID, we went to Zoom, and this is the first year we're going back to in person. We go over the budget with the people who attend and ask questions, ask them actually for insight, explain how our process is and how we came to where, how we built the budget, and then ask for feedback, any changes, tweaks, or things like that. So it's really an open nature of asking anything regarding the budget, as well as any of the financial questions they may have.
Okay, so thank you. So that sort of addresses my next question, was the format. Will the public be able to ask questions of the board and share experiences and get answers? And not just specific to the budget, but to experiences, concerns, et cetera.
So it's regarding the budget. If there's any questions, I'll take if I can't answer them myself, I would take their information and have the appropriate person get back to them. But really the goal of next week's meeting is the budget, because then when we go back to the Port Council, I'll report any feedback or any changes we made based on XYZ is what we've historically done with these open houses we've had.
Okay, so it's strictly more financial than
Yes.
anything.
Correct.
Okay, when will this meeting be available for viewing by the general public who are unable to attend, either on the website of the Steamship or through MVTV?
I post the meeting recordings on YouTube usually within 24 hours, and then I provide copies to NVTV as well. What they do with it is up to them, but usually we have them posted within a day, if not sooner.
So the public will be able to be informed when they attend this
Yes.
forum.
They've also set up a landing page for budget information. It's linked from our homepage.
Okay,
So all of the today's presentation and the link to the video of today's presentation will be up there. The Port Council materials are already up online.
okay, thank you. I guess you began to address the process for establishing a search committee. Can you please confirm your recommendations as to who would be on it? And also, I'm sorry, I'd like him to confirm it because I think it was a little unclear to me. Also, I have a question as to why it appears to me there's no outside professionals that are well-versed in this industry being included in the search committee. I may be mistaken on that, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think the public is in there because we are the public. We have been appointed by you. And we are definitely
outside professional, not the public.
I didn't mention that the Terrence will be in there as staff support, our general counsel.
If I may, Mr. Chair, as well.
Yeah, please.
I've already been reaching out to find executive search firms that are versed in this type of this industry to be able to look. And that was going to be something that when this group gets together, would be providing those members with that information, and they can as background information as to how they can go about the process.
Thank you. And lastly, knowing what the forum is about and focusing mainly on financial information, I'd like to ask the board to consider scheduling a meeting with the general public here that goes beyond just the financial concerns and deals with the personal experiences that people have had on this island using the steamship as our connection for daily services, medical services, things of that nature that I don't think this forum next week will allow for a healthy exchange with. I think it's important for the board to be able to put faces to the issues that have been affecting so many people here on a regular basis, and would like the board to consider scheduling a meeting or a forum, an information gathering, sharing session with the general public here on that.
I understand where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with it, except for we have, Nantucket and Barnstable and Woods Hole and New Bedford. And we're all over the place. Our meetings are open. Public comment is always invited. And I think that's the avenue for it, for people sharing their personal experiences and things. I mean, letters to the editor, come to the meeting. But I think that's a pretty healthy, request. I mean, we have a life along with this. And I understand exactly what you're saying, but I think that's the avenue that I would want to take.
Would it be possible for the board to consider having management come for an informational session here on the island with the port council and the board member from just the island?
I think that's always an opportunity. I mean, you deal with your island. I deal with the town of Barnstable. You deal with Nantucket, and that's always open.
Okay.
It isn't a closed forum. So, and I think we're better off, when we know what's happened. But I can tell you, in reading the letters to the editor, I'm not necessarily excited by some of the letters that we receive. But still,
I'm sure, yeah.
Well,
I don't disagree at all. I feel that the public wants to be a little bit more heard. And I do appreciate that you do move around and go from location to location to provide that opportunity. But there are so many people who can't carve the time to sit through a 3-hour meeting, to really finally get to the comment the public comment point, to really be able to share with you how significantly impacted some have been with regards to some of the inconsistencies of service and communication, et cetera. So
Yeah.
I thank you for your
As I say,
consideration.
I don't disagree with you, but town of Barnstable, we have public comment first. And public comment is limited to 3 minutes. That's it. Sometimes we allow people to go over if they're in the middle of a dissertation or something like that, but you can say an awful lot in 3 minutes. And going on for 5 and 10 minutes sometimes, I mean, just goes beyond, the 4 points of the article. But I think to make the suggestion, if you had a specific invite, we could certainly consider that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If I may. To that, I would, one, suggest that maybe when we have a meeting on the island, that we consider scheduling it to be after the workday, at least one of the 2 meetings a year that we have on Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, so that more of the traveling public, or not the islanders can actually attend such a meeting. And then to also address, do what Hyannis does, I know the town of Falmouth does this as well, put public comment at least at that meeting that's in the evening, at the very beginning of the agenda. We could set the time limit at, 2-3 minutes, but that way there's more participation. And then to the extent that there is a forum here on the island, I'd be happy to attend if I'm invited, Mr. Malcolm, because I know that there's a lot of kind of synergy between Falmouth and Martha's Vineyard, and a lot more happening between the 2 towns, or the island towns, and the town of Falmouth.
Right.
So I hear a lot of your complaints and concerns, and it's impacting my town as well.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Jim.
Yes.
I'm done if I can.
I'm sorry, are you through?
I'm done. Thank you.
But Joe interrupted you.
Yeah, don't interrupt.
Just to say that Mr. Gale and I, as board counsel from North Boston, for Tisbury, second what Mr. Malcolm had to say, I think we talked about that before, of having an evening meeting with management and the 3 of us there, so people can ask questions, and we can answer those questions.
Yeah, if the management could schedule that, do that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, I think that the next chairman of the board should get involved in that. And
Well, yes, the next chairman of the board just asked the management to schedule that. Yes. That's kind of involved.
yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Doug Ruskin. I'm Dukes County Commissioner. I have two questions, I think. One is a clarification of the search process. As I heard it, I think what I heard after some back and forth is that you are going to use a professional search firm, and that the committee you just appointed will be working with that search firm, and ultimately, based on the options that firm brings to you, you will make a decision as to who to hire. Is that reasonably accurate?
This hasn't been populated yet. We haven't
I'm
got
sorry?
down, we haven't sat down and talked about, but yes, the use of information is paramount. Inviting a professional is the way we're gonna go. But this is a committee that hasn't even talked. But it will be a process that we will keep, the public informed as if we've made any decisions.
Okay.
And basically, we're trying to bring in a new general manager.
I understand.
And, this is not going to be done in a vacuum, but how much information is available at any one time, I don't know.
No, I was simply asking about process.
Well, yeah, that's it.
Okay. So my second question, I heard I think it was Mr. Jeffrey mentioned a advertising budget of $1.3 million. Is that accurate?
I think somebody said three. That
What,
doesn't
what
sound right.
portion of that is directed at solely at sales and marketing as opposed to, advertising for a job position?
And so we have search engine optimization. We have most of the, if not all, step in anytime, Sean, here. Is geared toward passenger traffic. We don't advertise for vehicles, but I can get you, Doug, the breakdown of how it's disseminated. I don't have that right in front of me.
So you're specifically advertising for more customers.
Foot traffic.
Do you have any data, historical data, that correlates an increase in traffic to the advertising spending?
As far as an ROI on that category, no, I do not have that. I'd refer that to Sean.
I made the argument, I think to you, Mark.
Yeah, one of the open houses.
A number of years ago.
Yes.
That I believe, and I know I'm not alone, but I can only speak for me, that if you cut that budget in half, I frankly think you could cut it to zero, but I would experiment with half, that the traffic will not be dramatically reduced. I don't understand in the market we're in how it's really necessary. I understand you're advertising for passenger traffic, which offsets the excursion. I get the dimension of the problem. I just don't see, I also don't understand how a billboard on 195 gets you passenger traffic, but that's a separate issue. So I would love to see some ROI. I just don't get it.
So I'll have some more information for you. I'm assuming you're going to attend next week's meeting.
Do my best.
If not, I'll get it to you. But those are the types of conversations we want at the open houses, is getting into that granular level, like we talked about before. I think it was at the Oak Plus Library we talked about.
So unless you're in a business that uses that type of advertising, I'm in the boat business and been, for years. And I've had, billboards on the Southeast Expressway. And I advertise in national magazines, 2-3 color pages, very expensive. But I can tell the day that magazine hits the street. The phone calls come in. And on the Southeast Expressway, I couldn't believe it. It was a big, huge sign with a beautiful ocean yacht coming down that the people that leased the a billboard from, it was so good, they wanted to move it right down in front of the boat show. And I can tell you, this is in March, and I had the busiest month that I ever had. The month after that sign hit there. I didn't sell the boats that I wanted. I sold small boats, but I didn't care. The busiest month. In advertising, you just don't know which 50 cents works.
Yeah, I get that. I just think in a resort area where you're a lifeline, that the advertising by the steamship is not driving traffic. I think real estate industry is.
If I may. Doug and I have had these conversations before. One added aspect that I'd mention that I failed to see in the beginning 4.5 years ago, because my view was Steamship doesn't need to advertise. We all know where it is. We all have to use it. But if you remember that graph that was up there about profitability, where the Steamship makes money in May, right? The passengers that get carried in the summer months have virtually no incremental cost to the steamship. That's all profit. That's something that's really important to maintain.
I get it. I would love proof that $1 million in advertising is affecting it. That's all.
As Alexander Haig said, trust but verify.
I'm not
I'm asking to verify.
Advertising is very expensive, and it was a vital cost that I put up with. But I can tell you one thing, I would not stop advertising. I would not stop.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Amy Cody. I'm a full-time resident of Chilmark and a voting member of Chilmark. I had some remarks put down. I'm actually going to turn them over and I'm not even going to refer to them because what I was going to talk about is moving together and working together in a modern, effective, efficient way, transparent way, and an open way. But I just want to ask one question. You just referred to wanting to have a gentleman brought in, a new gentleman brought in. And I don't know whether you were talking about someone who's running an executive search firm to help the search committee, or whether you were talking about a new gentleman to replace Bob Davis. So I just wanted to ask you for clarification on that.
Just a headhunter.
I'm sorry?
A headhunter.
So a new gentleman headhunter to help the search committee look for.
Gentle person. Yes.
I'm just saying, let's be open-minded to whoever will be the next people on this board, on the Port Council, the new general manager, and the new head of the search firm, that they could be also a very capable female person. And I also just want to make one more statement that I think it's essential that you do have open forums for people who cannot make this meeting and sit here for 2.5 hours for public comment. And that, like what Christine Todd said, we need to be able to talk in person about how all these decisions affect the daily lives of everyone who lives here.
I agree.
Okay.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
Ma'am? Please.
My name is Joy Robinson Lynch. I'm a resident of West Tisbury. I want to make some succinct and respectful comments that may assist you in becoming a more democratic institution. I appreciate, Mr. Jeffrey, that you mentioned that the constraints of the authorizing legislation hamper you, and you invited us to make a difference about it. I would say that it would be a really strong effort if the governors spoke to the legislature or the governor about and wrote out what you think what a new authority would look like. Would be much stronger than me writing my little proposal. I didn't hear anything but the details weren't given. Is the new RFP going out for the IT for the website going to have it in more than one language? I think if we're not offering services in Portuguese and Spanish, we're not serving the public. And the third is that a member of the public, at least one, if not two, ought to be on this hiring group to hire the new general manager. Those are just 3 opportunities you have to open this up. Thank you.
Thank you. Leon?
Good morning. It's still morning, it's afternoon. Leon Brathwaite, West Tisbury. First of all, it's weird coming back. You're raising the rate on the passenger ticket. I spoke about this. I think the last time I raised the rate was in 2020, 2019. What was the last passenger rate?
Give me 1 second. I'll interrupt as you keep going. How's that?
And at that time, we made a decision to keep the excursion rate the same. I argued then, as I argue now, we have 2 passengers on that and 2 children. We didn't add any change to the actual reservation. So when I buy my book to walk on, I pay, I think, what's it, $4 now, $5? If I was in my car, it's zero, it's whatever it is. We didn't change it. When we changed the vehicle, for the passenger to go up 50 cents, at that time I said, let's put that same 50 cents on the 2 passengers, the 2 adults in the car, which would mean $1, $2 round trip. How many trips have we had since then? Several 100,000 probably. money lost. Again, we're doing another change and we don't want to change the excursion rate. Fine, leave the vehicle rate the same, but we should really look hard at the passenger because the passenger is a passenger. They're sitting in a car and they're paying less rate, a less ticket price per person as if they were to walk on the boat and buy a ticket and walk on. And that's not fair to the rest of the citizens of the island because we're paying a higher rate to walk on. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
arguing strongly.
I remembered when you said that. And I think we were on the vineyard at the time.
We were here, we were at the film fest, the film center.
Yeah.
And I argued it there. That's exactly what I said then.
Yes.
And I think that it's money lost by not making that change then. And I think you're looking at, again, we should look to do it. We should change it now. So at least there's the person buying a ticket to walk on and off the island who's a resident is paying the same price if they were sitting in their car. And I think Mr. Jeffries had it right on when he mentioned we ought to take a look at that. So I recommend strongly that you revisit the passenger ticket on the excursion.
January 1st, 2023, went up 50 cents.
50 cents. How many trips have we had since then?
Sorry, I wasn't ready for that one.
I rest my.
I can get it to you.
Yes. Hey.
I'm Kate Warner. I'm the energy planner at the Martha's Vineyard Commission and a resident of West Tisbury. I come to almost all these meetings, and at first I want to applaud you all because I find there's an overwhelming amount of information that you process and the Port Council processes. And I just think it's staggering. I also appreciate Peter Jeffers' comments about the challenges of the fare box with regard to the future upcoming costs. I do not hear a lot of discussion or action at these meetings about the future of the steamship in terms of reducing emissions of vessels, acquiring new vessels that are much cleaner. I don't hear it despite an overwhelming amount of evidence about climate change at this point. So I'd like to know who on the steering committee will represent thinking about the future and being sure that candidates are adequate to deal with the increasing capital costs of the steamship and the greater needs of resilience given climate change, whether it's thinking about flooding of the steamship terminal in Vineyard Haven or Woods Hole, thinking about vessel acquisition. I don't think you get that just from the people that you've appointed to the steering committee so far. I agree with Joy that I think some representations from the public might be necessary because I think we have entered a very different world and you need some fresh thinking to be sure that that very different world is represented in your decision-making process.
Thank you, Kate. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Cameron Naren. I'm a resident of Oak Bluffs. The first question that I had is, does the Steamship Authority have an operating hours-based preventative maintenance system?
Say that again, please.
Does the Steamship Authority have an operating hours-based preventative maintenance system?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
You do. Is preventative maintenance performed by licensed engineers that you have on watch during daily routine operations?
Daily maintenance is done by the engineers on board, as well as we have a maintenance department. And for larger jobs, we'll outsource that.
So the reason I'm asking these questions is you've had many sailings canceled due to mechanical failures this year. I don't think that's a newsflash to anyone.
I would suggest to you.
Yes.
The facts are that the mechanical cancellations at the Steamship Authority, which as problematic as they are to our traveling public, are 0.64% of the trips to Martha's Vineyard. And Washington State Ferries trips, they attempt to stay under 5%. So yes, we are inconvenienced by travel, but the mechanical cancellations on the Steamship Authority, shocking to me because I've missed a few trips myself,
Yep.
are considerably below Bay State ferries, Washington State ferries, and I said Bay State, Washington, and there's one other ferry system that slips my mind at the moment because I look at that.
Okay, thank you. That's very useful information. To the point that Mr. Jeffrey made about the Steamship Authority's enabling legislation being limiting, is the Steamship Authority able to apply for federal or other grants? I did see one grant on the line up there.
Yes, we do.
And have you recently applied for any?
Yes,
federal
yes, we
grants?
have.
Okay.
And we recently, last year, hired a grants administrator to solely not only apply for the grants, but administer the grants as well.
Great. I appreciate that. The reason I'm asking that is there's other ways to defray costs. I think the enabling legislation that the board does need to look long-term at some strategy that enables more than just fare box revenues and the grants that you apply for. That is a continuing challenge that's not going away. In 2017, the Southeast Mass Regional Transportation Citizens Task Force published a paper that I have a copy here, saying the Steamship Authority operates by far and away the most expensive auto ferry service in the country on a per mile basis by a factor of over 300%. Is that, I understand the limitations of the enabling legislation, but is that roughly still the case that the costs to the customers of Steamship Authority passage is much higher than any other ferry system in the country? Or
For public ferry operators, yes, we are higher. But we're the sole public ferry operator in the country that's 100% fare box.
So that just highlights that challenge and the need to address that challenge. Have you, I was driving over on the mainland the other day and drove by the Gifford Street Steamship Authority a lot in Falmouth. Is that still a Steamship Authority property?
Yes.
Because it's overgrown. It looks like it hasn't been used in a very long time. Has there been any consideration to sell that off to mitigate the costs that we're talking about raising fares to offset?
It's used as a laydown area for the construction in Woodsall.
Oh, all right. And just the last thing that I had is you've got the purchase of the Aquina, the Barnstable, the Monomoy together at the same time with the terminal reconstruction project, together at the same time with the IT project. I really don't understand, and I'd be interested in any views on why all these things were batched together at the same time. And if there's a plan, there was discussion of a long-range plan to spread out these costs and plan these costs so they're not all at the same time, which are definitely leading to the need to increase fares right now.
So we do have a 10-year capital plan, and all these projects that you mentioned were at one point or another on those plans. Whether it's the terminal reconstruction or the acquisition of the vessels, we had a useful life survey done of all of our vessels to determine the status, and the determination at that time was that financially we were better off we're going to get 3 vessels for what it would cost us to buy 1 new.
So I understand getting the 3 OSVs at the same time, but was there any consideration to putting the other projects on hold or mitigating their economic impacts so that fares don't have to keep going up?
So the Woodsall Terminal project, that was a project that probably started 10 years too late. The condition of the slips was deteriorating. The bulkhead was deteriorating. We had to do that project and get that accomplished. It's taken a lot longer because of COVID and because of the concessions that we've been going back and forth with our neighbors in Falmouth to address concerns that they've had. But at this point, we're in the construction phase of the building, and that's been part of the capital plan for quite some time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else? Well, thank you for your comments. Please feel free to come to our meetings, and we have public comment at each meeting and express your thoughts. If not, is there anybody online that wants to speak? Okay. Well, with that, I think we'll take a motion to go into executive session. Need to read the statement. You got something for me? All right. I would like to entertain a motion to go in executive session to discuss and approve the minutes of the authorities meeting in executive session on September 17th, 2025, and to review the authority's strategy with respect to collective bargaining, negotiation, and contract negotiations with non-union employees, because a public discussion of these matters may be detrimental effect on the authority's negotiating and bargaining positions. These matters include anticipating and ongoing negotiations with Teamsters Union Local Number 59 and MEBA's District Number 1 PCD. Discussion with respect to a tentative collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters Union Local 59 governing the terms and conditions of employment for the authority's terminal and agency employees, and the authority's employment contract with the general manager, Robert B. Davis. The public disclosure of any more information with respect to these matters would compromise the purposes for which the executive session is called. After the conclusion of the executive session, we will reconvene in public. Again, may I have a motion? This motion is a discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted. Okay. I did get a second.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. All right. Thank you all for coming. Are we on?
We are.
Okay, I'd like to call a meeting to order. I would like to inform everybody that Falmouth Community Television, also known as FCTV, and John Driscoll, the authority's communications director, are making audio and video recordings of today's meeting. If there's anybody else making an audio or video recording of today's meeting, if you are joining virtually, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you are joining by phone, by pressing *9 on your keypad. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record.
Daniel?
Daniel Greenman, Martha's Vineyard Times.
That's all I see.
That's it.
Yes.
I guess I would ask the general counsel to give a review. We've just been in discussion with Mr. Davis about his employment as a senior advisor to the Steamship Authority, and we've reached a conclusion as to what his salary and contribution will be.
All right, thanks, Bob. During the executive session, the board discussed reaching an agreement with Mr. Davis with respect to an employment agreement for him to assume the role of senior advisor as of November 1st, 2025, at a salary equivalent to his salary, his then salary as general manager, for a term not to exceed 18 months. And so we're looking for a vote from the board to approve that employment agreement with Mr. Davis as of that date next year.
So moved.
Moved.
Second,
Second, any discussion? All in favor? Roll call.
Jeffrey, I.
Jones, aye.
Knocking on.
Randy, I.
I'd call for motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much.